I don't share this usually. Okay, I stick to the UFO stuff, except when I do spiritual and that type of conferences or podcasts or whatever. But it is part of the data. Okay, and I let it all out there in the book because I figured, hey, it is part of the story. And I've had people ask me actually, were the three beings that I met as a child at 8 years old have any relation to the three lights, orbs that I saw outside my bedroom window? And when you go back to the Native Americans and they're talking about ancestors, or I don't know. I don't know. I just leave the data out there for others to decide. But I was at a dentist. It's 1956. They were using ether, which is very, very dangerous for a child. In fact, after the mass sighting, shortly after the mass sighting, I think it was 97, Dan Rather did a whole show on 60 Minutes pertaining to the fact that kids have either been brain damaged or died in a dentist's office using ether and other anesthetics, which kind of blew me away. It was like confirmatory, but be that as it may. And I've had other people tell me, including the psychiatrist, that his near-death experience was very similar, and that suddenly while I was under, I was going like a revolving glass door. Do you want me to tell you this story?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like a revolving glass door, slowly and slowly. And suddenly it came to a barrier. And you'll hear other people, you read near death experience data, and other people have similar experience. They come to like a barrier. And I knew when I was very innocent, there wasn't any religion. Basically, we grew up in a multicultural neighborhood and celebrated everything. Uh, so it wasn't anything that would have, and very sheltered as well. In fact, well, I'll get to that in a second. So I came to a barrier, and I knew if I passed that barrier, I would be dead. And about the same time, I had this near-death experience review that people have. It was very short, obviously, but it showed how my mother just doted on me. I was like her little gift, which I was. I mean, she just doted on my brother and I. And I was horrified. I was in a panic, thinking if I die, she's going to be devastated. I can't die. I can't die. In a panic mode. Suddenly I shoot up above the stars, the sky. And I'm like kind of very mellow, very peaceful, floating among the clouds. And I notice three giant beings. Now, they might have been 10 feet, I don't know. But to me, they were giant in glowing white robes with hoods over their heads. And I tried to see their faces, but the hoods were like over enough that I could not see their faces. But I felt their incredible, unconditional love for me. I felt it. And I felt that they knew who I was inside. And about the same time, they were like looking down on Earth, towards Earth. And I turned my head, and it was like I had a high powered telescope that could see people doing things on Earth. I was watching kids make chalk hopscotch boards on the sidewalk and jumping over. I saw a milkman, and in those days in 56, they would deliver milk in a truck, come out of his truck and delivered milk at the door. I saw a shopkeeper take his sign and to open his day, but I knew what was going to come next. And I thought, how could I know what was going to come next? And I thought, wait a minute, does that mean that we don't have control over what comes before us? A very profound thought for a naive 8-year-old. And then I thought, but wait a minute, we might not have control of what comes before us, but we do have control over what we do with that situation, with that opportunity. Do we take advantage of it? Do we blow it off? How we treat that person or that animal? Are we kind or are we nasty? And then the ripple effect, do they go home? And I was seeing all this. Do they go home and yell at their kid because you were nasty? And I thought, whoa, if these beings are looking down on Earth and giving us a stimulus and watching our reaction to that stimulus, does that mean that human beings are but an experiment? And with that thought, I hear a magnanimous male voice, and it seems like it was yesterday, like I'm talking to you, say, it's not your time. It's not your time. There's a reason you have to go back. And with that thought, I was sucked back in my body. The dentist, I noticed immediately the dentist and nurse were like all frantic, and they had my legs up and were asking me if I was okay. Never told me that something happened. But to this day, I know that it did. It was as real as I'm talking to you now. And for weeks afterwards, never said a word to my parents. They never said a word to my parents. I would go to a park near our house and look up to see if I could see these beings, which I never did. But I have felt that they've been with me ever since. I have felt that they are my guides. And don't hear voices, but whenever I come to a crossroads or have a question, including the Phoenix Lights, you'll read in the book. At one point, when I showed what I had and I asked my friends, what the hell do I have this for? I don't want to do this. I don't know anything about it. They would look at me or tell me, Lynn, if anybody can do something credible, professional, you can. This is what you do. And I went outside and I just looked up, as I was doing for many decades, and just meditated and said, okay, in my mind, if I'm supposed to do something credible and professional with this, just show me the way. Lead me to whatever I have to do. I will do whatever I can to lend my expertise to help make the world a better world.
Na 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 na.